Welcome to the Summer Short Series, a mini-series, and I'm doing 5 of them, and this is the 4th one. If you haven't listened to any of the prior ones, I encourage you to listen to them. The whole idea of this Summer Short is to talk about how we should be focusing on our personal economy and not being so concerned about the environment as much and the overall economy, if you will, because a lot of people are actually, I would call it, maybe vulnerable to making bad choices because of the noise that's out there. And so if you go to episode 1, I talked about deciphering what's important and how you can actually figure out what is the most important things and what is noise. And in the second episode, I talked about protecting your mind in ways that you can actually figure out in a better way what is actually true and not true, because I know there's a lot of people that are concerned about, like, what is actually true? I've heard this so many times. What is actually true? I don't know who to believe. And I talk about how, almost like in a checklist fashion, how you can actually do that in the second episode. And in the third episode, I talk about the cycle of emotion and how there is a predictable cycle of emotion that happens during times like now, and how we can avoid that cycle and make better choices. And now today I'm going to be talking about defining your personal economy, and I'm going to talk about 7 specific steps to help you map your future and to stay like a rock that is near the ocean, that stays firm even though chaotic waves are crashing around them. So the idea is for you to have the ability to be focused on what is right for your personal economy, and it starts by defining it. Now, there's 7 steps that actually help people define their personal economy, and I talk about this in depth in my book, The Financial Freedom Blueprint. You can actually go, by the way, if you want to know more about the book, pick up the book. You can get a signed copy by going to pathtorealwealth.com. That's pathtorealwealth.com. But anyway, I'm going to be talking about the 7 steps to map your future that will help you be that rock during turbulent times. So the first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing when we have the noise all around us is we want to avoid making mistakes. And that means understanding that in order for us to avoid making mistakes, we're going to need to know what's true. We're going to need to deal with the cycle of emotion. We've kind of talked about that. But it's also important to know that you're a human being. Obviously, you're not a number, because a lot of people out there will actually try to bucket you and your whole family, your finances, into some kind of tidy little box and tell you are categorized in this little box, and therefore you should behave financially in a certain way. And you're not a box. You're a human being, not a number. You have a family. You have different situations regarding your personal situation. So you want to make smart financial choices by having checkpoints to keep on track, despite what's happening around you. So a computer is not going to know your family goals. It's not going to know your circumstances. You are a unique person that requires a tailored solution to your financial situation. So when we're talking about getting rid of the noise, these are the 7 steps. So the first step, we will have to start by looking at our purpose and values. So it really starts by looking within. Step 1 is to identify and prioritize your particular objectives. Forget about what everybody else is telling you. Everybody's going to want to tell you what your goals are. Only you know your goals. And so you have to really look at, what is my purpose? What are my values that I have? What are the opportunities that I see that are out there? Are there any threats that are directly affecting me? So when it comes to the overall economy is only important to the degree that it affects your personal situation. So you have to be really aware of that. So you have to really think about visualizing your future and transforming your future into goals, and looking at the wider impact of your goals really among all of your loved ones, your family members, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the first step, is to go through and visualize your future and look at that, your objectives. Stay focused on that, because your decisions about your finances, they have to support your own relationships and your own activities that you enjoy. Money alone is not going to make you happy. We know this. We have a lot of rich clients that are not happy. We have some not so rich clients that are happier, but money is always a part of people's happiness. It makes things a little bit easier for people, but focus on your goals and their impact. And there's a viewpoint that you need to look at that I think is the best way to look at, is to grade your goals and say, okay, what is urgent right now in my life? What is the most pressing, urgent thing? And how does that affect my relationships? How does that affect my passions? What am I really passionate about? How is my health? Am I connecting spiritually? If you have a spiritual, I believe everybody has some element of spirituality, but whatever that may be for you, is that really being incorporated in your life so you can stay grounded? It's really important to stay grounded during periods of chaos. So that's step number one, is to just go ahead and it's almost like a little bit of an inventory about what you're going to do. Now, when you're thinking about these goals, it's really important for you to say, okay, I'm going to actually do this in a deliberate way. So the second step is really to gather and organize yourself. So in order for you to multiply your happiness and to multiply your ability to stay solid, you have to be organized and gather your information. So step two is really just to take the time. Summer is a perfect time to take the time to gather your stuff, take an inventory of all your assets, all the money that you owe, what your income has been, and really look at it from an objective standpoint.
If you worry about your investments, need to make complex financial decisions, or pay unnecessary taxes, a lack of proper financial planning and investing may already be costing you a great deal. When you are ready to turn your peace of wealth into peace of mind, go to wealthnetinvest.com and click on the Schedule a Call button to talk to us and get a free consultation today.
Step three is you really want to say, okay, I've got this vision about what I'm trying to do. I know clearly where I am right now because I've taken the time and I've slowed everything down. Everybody wants you to speed things up when there's a lot of noise around you. That's not what you want to do. You want to slow things down and you want to say, okay, where am I? So step three is to actually analyze. And that could be, you probably are going to need some help unless you're a financial person, or you may need other types of professionals other than financial in this kind of a realm, in this part of this. You want to be able to bounce those ideas and analyze the situation that you're in so that you could see, how can I go from where I am right now and really stay firm and move in the right direction despite what's happening around me. So that's step three, analyzing your current situation. Step number four is to really come up with that solution. So coming up with a solution is almost like a light bulb moment. Sometimes you could be working on it, looking at it, working on it, and then all of a sudden things come together and you go, oh, this is what the solution is. And that will become clear to you if you are following these guidelines of knowing what's true, avoiding the noise, focus on the signal, not the noise, and you've identified your goals and you've gathered your information and you've talked to people that are important. Then it's easier for you to come up with that solution, and that solution becomes extremely clear. And it will just pop in your mind and you'll know. And then you actually do it. You implement it. And if you're dealing with the investment world, then you're dealing with kind of coming up with that policy of how you're going to invest. That would be step five. And step six would be how I'm going to actually implement that. Because wherever you are right now, and as things are changing, you've got the economy and the world is going to change. It's definitely going to change in the next year. So what is your plan for that? You remember we talked about the flight plan in the prior episode. I talked about, okay, if you've identified and look at things realistically, you and your advisors, then it's easy for you to stay grounded to know that you're actually taking an appropriate action for what's happening around you and being clear about that. But being that implementation is going from what you know you need to do versus how you're actually going to do it. And that takes actually a combination of two different skill sets. And I actually wrote a letter to my children about this because I believe happiness is really driven by the ability for individuals to combine the creativity of creating something new, something out of nothing, having that creativity, and then also having a logistical mindset. That's the second part. The logistical mindset's more like blocking and tackling, like what order do I need to do things? Who is really good at these areas that I don't know about? And how am I going to actually implement it? That's logistical thinking. So if you combine that creativity, which gives you the ability to know what to do or to know what you're trying to achieve, and the logistics where you break it down, that's really, when you combine those, that's really where you get to where you want to go. So as you get this going, as all this chaos is going around you, if you monitor your progress, you have to commit to yourself, I am going to communicate either with myself or with my advisors and people that I trust. I'm going to communicate regularly. I actually set up a weekly coffee call with some people that I trust and know. It's just a standing thing. On Mondays at this time, early in the morning, we're going to be having coffee over here. If you can join, great. and people come when they can come, and that gives us an opportunity to talk about things. And it's amazing what can get done in a coffee shop. More can get done there. I don't think a bar is the place. You hear people say, oh, go to a bar. And I think having a cup of coffee early in the morning with the right people, more can get done. But monitoring regularly and bouncing ideas off, you commit to yourself that you're going to do that. If you follow those 7 steps and you've got all this chaos going around you, I promise you're going to have a much better emotional state, and you're going to have a much better life during this time. So if we get into some craziness, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe we don't have a crazy type of chaotic environment. But if we do, this will definitely help. So that's the summer shorts for today, defining your personal economy and mapping yourself out with those 7 little areas that you think about. And if you do those, it will definitely improve your life. Now, the next one, I'm going to really sum this up with, this is the last episode of the summer shorts. And I'm going to be talking about putting it all together and how you can maximize your personal economy. So we talked about how you can find the truth and all those things and how you can actually think about it. But now, how can we maximize our personal economy and our personal happiness and do the right things? Sometimes happiness, by the way, is not necessarily just doing things that you want to do. In fact, a lot of times it's not. It has to do with doing the right thing. And that will maximize your personal economy during this time. Hope you're doing well, and we will talk to you next time. Have a great day.
For the latest episode of the Market Call Show, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Go to marketcallshow.com for all our past episodes and sign up to get alerts for new episodes. If you enjoyed the content of this episode, please leave us a 5-star review and comments. The information in this podcast is informational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. WealthNet Investments is a registered investment advisor. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where WealthNet Investments and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure.